your tutorial again. Okay, so the coil is broken because Giannis tried to adjust it and it said received signal too low. So now we look at the coil and
do a visual inspection. Most of the time what fails is the cable or some part of the cable. Sometimes the BNC or this is an SMA connector comes off and it just strips off and you need to replace it. Sometimes it comes off right here, just breaks off, or the soldering is not proper and it'll break off. But this one looks pretty good. It just has issues right here where you can see the wire. And here at the zip tie, it's like the insulation is broken. So those are good indications that something's wrong with the cable. Are you still filming?
yeah, I'm still filming from the whole thing.
On this scanner, you would see this, like you said, an error message would say received signal too low or under manual adjustment. You wouldn't get a nice spike, you'll just have noise. So in here we have the box that has all the MRI components, and the other set of coils, the 8-channel coil, which has a little bit more to it than just capacitors. It has resistors. Those are the little red ones. And these sometimes just come off because they're so fragile. The little wire will just break off. So it's good to do a visual inspection to see, do you have 2 on each channel. Sometimes they're just gone and you need to put a new one on. And so the new ones are in here. And then the other item that can break are the capacitors, but that really hardly ever happens. And I also have a set of, sorry, they usually live in here. I just took them out the other day. So we have different capacitors, different picofarads. And then in here is also the connector that you will need when you go to the network analyzer. This is the only one we have, so put it back. If it's gone, I don't know where it is. That's it for now for here. We have spare coils. Just get one that still is working, and then you can compare if you're not sure what you're looking at. Like if for some reason you miss one everywhere, and you go like, what am I doing? I'm not sure. Just compare it to the one that's still working.
Oh, is the resistance the same resistance? That doesn't matter.
The red ones, they're color coded. So I only have the red ones here. So yes, they're all the same. There are different kinds. You can get orange colored ones, but we don't stock them. If the capacitors break, that's the point where you should probably send it back to ASMA, because they can have like a variance of 5%, which is a lot for capacitors, and it needs to be tuned to match the frequency, and it gets more complicated the more coils you have. So I'm not even...
So ASMA's on the permanent staff at MGH?
I guess so.
Okay.
She hasn't complained. I even offered that, you know, I could pay, and she just never takes me up for it. She just fixes it.
So what do? We FedEx her and she...
I email her
FedEx,
first, and I tell her that, you know, I have issues and I can't figure out, can I send it to her, and then
Right.
she'll tell me what her schedule is like and what to expect. The important thing is that when you send this to her, you need to send everything. You need to send the coil box with the
Hold on. Okay. So ASMA is on the permanent staff at MGH, and the important thing is
that if you have major issues that you can't fix yourself with any of the coils, really, just reach out to her, check in with her if she has time to look at it. Most of the time I send back the 8-channel coil because that just tends to break. The important part is that when you send something back to her, she needs all the components. She needs the transmit loop, the receive coils, and the actual box it connects to, because she needs to set it up.
that really big box?
Yeah,
Oh,
because she needs to set it up on a Phantom so she can test it when she thinks she has fixed it.
I see.
And so far in the past, I tend to forget to send like the transmit loop, so she would always ask Bevel for his, but he's left now.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if he left the coils. So it's important to just ship it all. There's some bubble wrap here, so just wrap it really well, and then take a box from up there and make sure it doesn't break more during transport.
How much are the shipping charges?
Oh, it's not. I don't
bad?
ship it like overnight. I ship it ground, so it's maybe $35.
I see, because we have extras. Okay.
Yes. And then. Yeah.
All right. Cool.
So we'll now go look at the network analyzer just so you see how to use that thing. Good machine, you can do it.
So we're in the electronics lab that's next to the 7T scanner.
There. So that was like, what, a minute? Felt forever. So yeah, this is your connector. So that's why you need that BNC adapter. And this is our phantom, just to create the load. This takes a little bit to come up.
Do you use a special solder for the resistors?
I don't.
Really? Okay. It's not MR. There's no MR issue. What is solder made of?
I don't know.
Looks like that.
Lead? I don't think so.
So this is a Smith's chart, and this one should just give you the peak at the frequency that it's tuned to, ideally the scanner. So you can see that when I move it, you see a little bit of movement everywhere, but we don't have a peak. On the Smith chart, it should go through 50 and then make a loop. And once we fix it, we'll look at it and you see how it's supposed to look. But we're supposed, oh, there. So whenever, and this is important that you do this, when you're suspicious it's a cable, sometimes if you have it perfectly aligned, you might still get a peak. Like there, I still have like a tiny peak. But then when I wiggle it and I get all this noise, I know that something is wrong with the cable. So this is a broken cable, very likely. See how it's doing all this weird stuff. See, now this is how it's almost supposed to look like, this loop.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not going through the right number. But, and I almost got a peak there.
Mm-hmm.
So now we'll change the cable. And probably just leave this on because it took forever to. Oh, I wish I remember what the silence is for this. Silence alarm.
Wait, hold on. So you buy the MR compatible 50 ohms. Okay.
Cable, and then it has the ordering info on there.
Okay. Hold on. Let me see that. Okay.
And
Okay.
so you're cutting more BNCs, and then we also got the ones for the HL coil has a different adapter. It has the SMA connectors, so we also have those cables. Oh, and even more. I didn't realize I had so many. Alright, so let's just get more and glue our tool area.
So the cables come with the BNC?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
So let's turn on the soldering iron. Don't have scissors here, huh? So this is pretty straightforward. You just reheat the solder so you can remove this end. Oh, and so this particular coil, Asma made, the ones I make, I use copper foil. This is like a more solid material. So the advantage of the copper foil is that it's easier to be replaced because it just comes with an adhesive back and you just cut it out to fit, you stick it on, and there you go. The disadvantage is that if you were to like scratch over it with a fingernail, you can actually break the copper in the connection, but then you just replace it. It's really just a matter of a minute. So this particular coil that she made, she used SMA adapter and then a BNC to SMA. But we'll just replace it with the BNC because that's really all we need. So it's very straightforward. Once this is hot enough, you'll just heat it up. Lift it. And there you go. And you may at this point, I think we have actually like a fancy stripper that Sebastian bought, but for that you need to like know what kind of diameter this is so you're not stripping too much. Since I can never remember, I'll just cut it and then use my fingernails. So the goal is just to remove the black insulation. Good fingernails, but apparently not good enough.
Do you know where that tool is, the stripper tool? It's the thing with all the holes, right?
It's like, yeah, it's like a grayish clamp. It might be in one of those drawers. Okay, so the next step is to get rid of the copper wire. So up to here you need it, but this part here has to go. So what I usually do is I just like fold it back. And then I just cut what I don't need.
What's inside the copper wire?
You have like an inner wire that has another layer of insulation. It's just a plastic. But it's important that when you do all of this, that the plastic doesn't melt. If you get a connection between the outer copper and the inner, then you have a short. Then it won't work. So now this looks good. So now, see, the next step is that you keep some of the insulation, and then you expose the inner wire for the last like few millimeters. So again, you just gotta cut through the insulation, but not through the inner. Remove too much of the copper, but we'll just put some soldering over there. So I could have left.
Okay, so the cable has been soldered, and now one of the things that you can try is...
You just want to make sure you didn't destroy the plastic. So I just want to see if there's a connection. So let me see if this one... The other one didn't beep. It's a little fickle too, but okay, so when you have a connection, it beeps. So there should, for example, when you go here, it should beep because there should be a connection there. But when you go from here to here, it shouldn't beep, and it doesn't. If you had destroyed, you can see we got a nice peak here, and you can see for the Smith's chart how you have a nice loop, and it goes through 100. I don't know if that number is really important. I always thought it was 50 because of 50 ohm. But
okay, and then the resonance is at what right now? Is it at 3T? Do you know what?
So the frequency is tuned to, it's 123.675, and I think the scanner frequency is 123 point, and then I don't know about the decimals, but you're close enough that
it's okay.
I think the scanner is tuned to 123.11. So it's very likely that when Ozma built this, she tuned it to the center of frequency on her scanner, which can vary just slightly, but the decimals don't matter that much.
Okay.
And you can see when I touch the capacitors on here how I'm changing how this charts behave. I don't know enough about this, about what exactly it does. I just know this is how it's supposed to look like, and then now when you wiggle at the cable, you don't have noise.
Okay, great.